our poll question of the day is, which quarterback has the most pressure going into the spring? Is it the incumbents, projected starters, or the challenger? And I have to comment, Robert Saucier said, he quickly responded to that. He said, no, but to the South Florida pipeline because they have a guy named Saban. Okay, fair enough. But I'll give you something that I'm telling you, what I'm going to share with you, James, I'm telling you, what I'm going to share seems to insinuate that there is more to it than just Saban. Maybe Saban's a great recruiter and the nation's greatest recruiter because he's great at recruiting coaches who can recruit. Just think about that. Is it just Saban, or is it Saban's approach to recruiting? And you have to think, if it's the coach recruiting, then you have to think you just brought in a guy from New England that has never recruited a day in his life, but he does have 5 championship rings. You think that's probably a pretty good icebreaker? Probably so. Let me get to my poll question, and then hold on to that thought about the recruiting to the pipeline to the South Florida. There are 4 people I have listed. It's concerning Alabama and Auburn. In some ways, it's ironic that Auburn and Alabama have very similar situations at quarterback. In terms of they both have returning starters. First time in a while, both of them having a returning starter, especially at Alabama. First time since A.J. McCarron, Alabama has a returning starter in Jalen Hurts. But many have already begun to dub Tua as the guy based on what he did in high school. Everybody forget that we had Blake Barnett starting based on what he did in high school. We had Phillip Sims being an All-American based on what he did in high school. Phillip Sims was one of the most accomplished high school passers in the country when he came out. I mean, what was he at the time? Was he not, James, the highest ranked Alabama quarterback recruit ever? So there you go. I mean, everybody, and it's funny. We always forget what we thought about those guys. We thought that Blake Barnett was going to be the guy as a freshman. He even showed signs that he may be the guy as a freshman. They just said he needs to get a little bigger. And we forget that we talked about how good Jalen was coming off of what he did before the Clemson game. And then he goes out and actually wins the job. But now at the end of the year, because we didn't win, and people can say what they want, because we didn't win the national championship, Jalen Hurts is now being questioned as whether he could be the starting quarterback. The reality of it is, if Alabama wins that game, as bad as he played, after he took the team down, they'd have been talking about how great Jalen Hurts is. That's reality. So is Jalen Hurts under more pressure to keep his job than, say, Sean White is? Which one would you rather be? Would you rather be Jalen Hurts, the incumbent, who took your team to the national title game and lost it? Or would you rather be Sean White, the guy who struggled in and out, at times were benched, and then you got a guy named Jarrett Stidham who's coming from Baylor, who showed big-time potential, and that guy now is on your campus, and everybody is giving him the job. People saying Tua can take it, but they've already given it to Jarrett. Jarrett's the starter at Auburn if the news hadn't broke yet. So, I mean, which guy would you rather be?
Like you just mentioned, I'd rather be Jalen Hurts just for the fact that you're the second true freshman in college football history to take a team to a national championship game.
But, James, that was all because of the defense. Jalen had nothing. Did you not watch any games? Jalen had nothing to do with Jalen. Jalen didn't do anything against USC. Jalen didn't do anything against Ole Miss. Jalen didn't do anything against LSU. Jalen had nothing. Don't you dare give Jalen Hurts any credit for what happened this year. The only credit Jalen Hurts deserves. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, but he lost us the championship game. I'm just making sure we're all on the same page. Come on, people. Jalen Hurts didn't lose us that game. He could have played better. Play calling could have been different. Defense could have made some stops early in the game. Everybody says 99 plays. Well, they ran 50 in the first half. They ran 47, I think, to be exact, in the first half before they were tired. So why didn't they stop them then? I'm sorry. I think Jalen Hurts has to improve. I think Jalen Hurts will improve. Trent Dilfer said that there was a throwing motion that Jalen had that had to be corrected. And he said he talked to Lane and others, and he said they had to correct it. And that was corrected, but he had to correct it in front of the whole nation. And because of that, I think his throwing motion was off. And Trent Dilfer, who I respect as a quarterback analyzer, says that he actually would become more inconsistent until he got good at it. Most quarterbacks go through this type of transition when they come from high school to college, but they get to do it behind the scenes at practice as a redshirt. Jalen didn't have that opportunity. I think Jalen hit a freshman wall. I think the mental side got too much for him, and I think also the way he was coached down the stretch hurt him. But I still think he has a lot of pressure on him. Does Jarrett Stidham have any pressure on him? I would say yes, because everyone is saying he's the starter. But the guy has played big-time college football in a passing offense. So based on this offense that Lindsey's going to employ at Auburn, it could be really an easy transition for Stidham because he and White are learning it together. I don't think Sean White is an elite quarterback, can never be an elite quarterback at any level. I think he's a tough, hard-nosed kid who plays the game hard and will fight for his team, but I don't think he is in the same talent level with any of the three quarterbacks we're talking about outside of him. So I think Sean White knows. I don't think there's as much pressure on him because I think he knows that barring some type of injury to Jarrett Stidham, he's not going to be the starter at Auburn. I believe he'll go out and fight, but I think deep down he knows that. And if he gets beaten out, James, who's going to say, oh, wow, I can't believe Sean White got beat out by Jarrett Stidham? They're going to say, we expected that. Tua has another type of pressure. And this is what Alabama fans need to listen to real quick. You need to be careful putting it on this young man that he should be the starter. You actually may hurt him more than help him by I hope he doesn't read the media. I hope he don't even listen to guys like me. But the reality of it is you putting it out there that he's ready to come in as a high school. This kid would still be in high school. That he's going to be the guy that led his team to a 14-1 record, played in a national title game, and he's going to beat him out because of what he did at St. Louis High School in Hawaii. That's a lot of pressure. And it's amazing how tight you can get when pressure gets on. That's what you saw against Jalen. Jalen got tighter as the season went along. The coaches got tighter as the season went along. And Jalen would not pull the trigger. Go back and look at how many times Jalen threw the ball to the correct receiver just behind him. He threw it behind him because he didn't trust himself anymore that the guy was open. And what happens is when you start to throw a couple missed passes or you throw an interception, you start to doubt. And that could happen to Tua. Remember, Tua's going to be going against one of the nation's best defense when he's trying to win the job. And those boys are trying to win jobs on the defensive side of the ball in spring. And so they're not going to let it go just because he's a freshman. They're going to be picking passes off. Those windows are going to be tighter. So that's a lot of pressure on Tua. So who do I think has the most pressure? I guess that's the question you want. You have clearly voted that you think over 50% of you think that Jalen has the most pressure and Stidham is second. And I would tend to agree with that for this reason. I think that the pressure that he's feeling is not all bad, though. I think Jalen is feeling pressure, and it's not all bad. I wish Jalen had got to experience that pressure all of last season. But because Barnett quit, he didn't get to feel that pressure all year. I think this pressure is actually going to be good. Everything I've seen from Jalen is he has the mental capacity to handle pressure. So I actually think that Tua being here and providing pressure is a good thing. And I think you're going to see Jalen Hurts respond in such a way that it makes him better as well as it makes Tua better and Alabama better. Jarrett Stidham over on the other side of the state, he probably has more pressure from the sense of everybody has put the hype on him, made him the apparent heir to the Auburn job, but I still think Jalen has the most pressure.